National Lampoon's Vacation turned a simple family road trip into a hilariously chaotic adventure etched in the memories of 1980s audiences. But behind the laughter, many stars of the film found themselves entangled in real-life tragedy, from sudden deaths to scandals that rocked Hollywood. Let's uncover the secrets behind the legendary cast and honor the legacy they left behind. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's go. Chevy Chase as Clark Griswold. Chevy Chase, born Cornelius Crane Chase, was born on October 8, 1943, in Manhattan, New York. When he was 39 years old, he portrayed Clark Griswold, the bumbling yet loving father, in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, marking the beginning of a hit franchise that cemented his status as a comedy icon of the 1980s. But beyond the spotlight lay a life full of controversy and pain. Chevy's childhood was haunted by domestic abuse. He once recounted the trauma of being slapped by his mother in the middle of the night and locked in a closet for hours by his stepfather. Those wounds never truly healed and arguably contributed to the difficult personality that would later cause numerous clashes in his career. After his peak in films like Caddyshack, Fletch, Three Amigos, and Christmas Vacation, Chevy began to fade from grace due to shocking remarks and behavior. On the set of Community, 2009 to 2014, he was criticized for racist outbursts and uncontrollable temper, culminating in a statement where he threatened to use the N-word if the script didn't change. The incident forced him to exit the show mid-season and severely damaged his reputation. Not only battling controversy, Chevy also struggled with his health. Years of physical comedy and pratfalls on Saturday Night Live left him with chronic back pain. In 2022, he was hospitalized for heart failure, forcing him to slow down and virtually retire from major projects. Once a potential successor to Johnny Carson and host of the Oscars, he now appears only occasionally in small TV shows or nostalgia-based programs. Chevy Chase has been married 3 times, with his third marriage to Janie Luke, ongoing since 1982, being the longest. Together they have 3 daughters. However, the relentless controversies of his public life have strained many personal relationships over time. As of 2025, when he is 82 years old, Chevy Chase lives quietly in Bedford, New York. His net worth is estimated at around $50 million, mostly from the golden years of his career. But the fame that once surrounded his name has faded. Perhaps the most bitter part of this comedy legend's journey is not the loss of fame, but becoming a name the younger generation forgets, and the older one hesitates to mention. Imogene Coca as Aunt Edna. Imogene Coca, born Emma-Jeanne Coca, was born on November 18, 1908 in Philadelphia. When she was 74 years old in 1983, Coca made audiences laugh with her portrayal of the sharp-tongued and cranky Aunt Edna in National Lampoon's Vacation, a small role that left a lasting impression and heightened the absurdity of the Griswold family's doomed trip. With nearly 70 years in show business, she was not only a force in stage, film, and television, but even appeared in MTV videos and children's animated shows. Coca was undeniably a multi-talented performer, from musicals like On the 20th Century to classic comedy alongside Sid Caesar in Your Show of Shows. Yet behind the curtain was a string of silent tragedies. Both of her husbands, Bob Burton, who died in 1955, and King Donovan, who passed away in 1987, left Coca alone, with no children, to face her final years in solitude. A devastating car accident in 1972 left her blind in one eye, forcing her to wear a cosmetic lens for the rest of her life. But Coca never backed down. She kept acting, kept performing, as if fatigue never touched her. In her final years, Alzheimer's disease began to chip away at her memory and spirit. As the lights faded, Coca could no longer perform. Her stage dimmed, replaced by quiet days in her small home in Westport, Connecticut. She passed away on June 2, 2001, at the age of 92 due to complications from Alzheimer's. Her final wish was to be cremated, her ashes scattered, a peaceful but somber end for an entertainer who once made all of America laugh. Beverly D'Angelo, as Ellen Griswold. Beverly D'Angelo was born on November 15, 1951 in Columbus, Ohio. When she was 31 years old, she played Ellen Griswold, the patient, smart, and at times desperate wife, bringing to life a modern woman who served as both emotional anchor and silent comic foil in the Griswold household. But in contrast to the balance Ellen showed on screen, Beverly's real life was a sea of quiet storms. She once married Lorenzo Salviati, an Italian duke, but the marriage quickly turned into a living-apart-together arrangement that lasted on paper until 1995. Her most famous romance was with acting legend Al Pacino, spanning from 1997 to 2003. In 2001, when she was 49 years old, D'Angelo gave birth to twins via IVF, a bold move that stirred the media at the time. However, the dream of family fell apart when she and Pacino separated. A lengthy custody battle ensued, dragging her into depression and reclusion. "I was a full-time mom, but also a woman fighting to protect her own space," she once said in an interview. Still, Beverly D'Angelo never left acting behind. After a successful 1980s run with Hair, Coal Miner's Daughter, Golden Globe nominee, and A Streetcar Named Desire, Emmy nominee, she continued to shine in American History X and series like Entourage, Law and Order, SVU, and most recently, True Lies, 2023. As of 2025, when she is 74 years old, she remains an active actress with an estimated net worth of $20 million. She balances motherhood with occasional returns to the screen in age-appropriate roles. Eddie Bracken as Roy Wally. Edward Vincent Bracken, known professionally as Eddie Bracken, was born on February 7, 1915, in Astoria, New York. When he was 68 years old, he appeared in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, as Roy Wally, the owner of Wally World Amusement Park, who shows up at the film's end to save the Griswolds' disastrous vacation. Though a minor character, Bracken's lovable confusion and comic delivery gave the movie a perfect final punch. Few remember that the man who made America laugh in the 1980s had already been a major star in the 1940s. Bracken headlined classics like The Miracle of Morgan's Creek and Hail the Conquering Hero, both later inducted into the National Film Registry. He was not only a film actor, but a radio star with his own namesake show. In the mid-1950s, Bracken quietly stepped away from Hollywood. There was no scandal, no disgrace, just a choice to return to the Broadway stage. He appeared in shows like Hello, Dolly and Sugar Babies, and even at 77 years old, he was still performing in Dreamtime at the Ed Sullivan Theater. He also worked closely with the Paper Mill Playhouse, pouring his heart into live theater. But his final years were marked by quiet sorrow. In 2002, following neck surgery to treat a compressed disc, his health rapidly declined. The pain left him exhausted, both physically and emotionally. That same year, in August, his wife of 63 years, Connie Nickerson, a fellow performer from their earliest stage days, passed away. 3 months later, on November 14, 2002, Eddie Bracken died in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, at the age of 87. He left behind 5 children and nearly 70 years of artistic legacy, a treasure far greater than any net worth. Randy Quaid as Cousin Eddie. Randy Randall Rudy Quaid was born on October 1, 1950. When he was 32 years old, he brought to life Cousin Eddie in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, the rural, clueless, yet irresistibly lovable cousin. With his sideways baseball cap, beer in hand, and goofy chuckle, Quaid's Eddie became not just an iconic character in the franchise, but a comedic highlight throughout 4 more sequels. However, behind the clueless charm was a real-life descent into darkness, a journey from the heights of fame to the depths of scandal that led to Randy being almost completely erased from Hollywood. In the 1970s and 1980s, Quaid was considered one of the eccentric geniuses of American cinema. His performance in The Last Detail, 1973, earned him nominations for an Oscar, BAFTA, and Golden Globe. He later won a Golden Globe for portraying President Lyndon Johnson in LBJ, The Early Years, 1987, and appeared in hits like Midnight Express, Independence Day, and Brokeback Mountain. But everything began to unravel in the late 2000s. Randy and his second wife, Evie Motolanez, were accused of a string of bizarre incidents: skipping hotel bills, vandalizing property, failing to appear in court, and even living illegally in a house they no longer owned. Things escalated when the couple fled the U.S. and sought asylum in Canada, claiming they were being hunted by a secret Hollywood group called the Star Whackers, a declaration that stunned the media and raised serious concerns about Quaid's mental health. Once estimated to have a net worth over $20 million, Randy Quaid gradually lost his reputation, professional opportunities, and finances due to over a decade of legal battles. Hollywood turned its back on him. His brother, actor Dennis Quaid, kept his distance. Directors stopped offering him roles. While the character Cousin Eddie was referenced in later films, Randy himself was never invited back. His personal relationships also deteriorated. His first marriage ended in 1989, and his only daughter became estranged. Meanwhile, his marriage to Evie, often blamed as the catalyst for much of the chaos, has continued to this day. As of 2025, when he is 75 years old, Randy Quaid lives in seclusion in Vermont with his wife, occasionally appearing in small indie comedies or digital releases. His remaining assets are limited, relying mostly on old royalties and sporadic performances with his band, Randy Quaid and the Fugitives. Once a star who shared the screen with Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando, he now lives as a shadow of his former self. John Candy as Russ Lasky. John Candy, born on October 31, 1950 in Ontario, Canada, was one of the most beloved comedians of the 1980s and early 1990s. When he was 33 years old in 1983, he appeared in National Lampoon's Vacation as Russ Lasky, the park security guard at Wally World. Though a minor role, Candy stole the show with his natural charm and goofy yet sincere performance, leaving a memorable mark on audiences. But behind the laughter was a life full of pressure, sacrifice, and an untimely end that shocked Hollywood. Candy started his career in comedy at Toronto's Second City and rose to fame as a key member of SCTV. He quickly became a movie star in hits like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, Cool Runnings, and The Great Outdoors, building the image of the kind-hearted big guy that made audiences laugh and cry at the same time. However, success came at a steep price. Candy carried a family history of heart disease. His father died of a heart attack at just 35. John himself admitted to using food as a way to cope with stress and emotions, which caused his weight to spiral. A mix of constant pressure, heavy smoking, poor diet, and chronic insomnia slowly wore down his health. Off-screen, Candy was a devoted family man. He married Rosemary Margaret Hobor in 1979 and had 2 children. Though a model father, the endless film schedules and his belief that he had to carry the crew with his smile silently drained him. On March 4, 1994, while filming Wagons East in Mexico, John Candy died in his sleep of a massive heart attack. He was only 43 years old. The world mourned a talent who had not yet reached his full potential. He was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in California, final resting place of many screen legends. At his funeral, close friends like Steve Martin, Dan Aykroyd, and Tom Hanks shed tears for the gentle giant of Hollywood. though his net worth was never publicly confirmed. Estimates suggest it was around $15 million at the time of his death, most of which was left to his wife and children through royalties and licensing rights. Mickey Jones as mechanic. Mickey Jones, born on June 10, 1941, in Houston, Texas, was a rare multi-talent. A drummer who played with legends like Bob Dylan, Trini Lopez, and Kenny Rogers, and a familiar face in countless American films and TV shows. When he was 42 years old in 1983, he appeared in National Lampoon's Vacation as the mechanic, a minor role made unforgettable by his steely eyes and rugged presence. Earlier in life, Mickey was part of Bob Dylan's historic 1966 tour, where angry fans heckled Dylan for betraying folk music with an electric guitar. Jones witnessed it all from behind the drum kit. His musical career didn't end there. He was a founding member of Kenny Rogers' band, The First Edition, and played on 17 gold records, a rare feat. However, after the group disbanded in 1976, Mickey shifted fully into acting. From a cold-blooded killer in 21 Jump Street to Pete Bilker in Home Improvement, he always found ways to turn side characters into standout performances. In 1996, he even appeared in Sling Blade, an Oscar-winning film. But behind the scenes, tragedy crept in. Mickey Jones suffered from type 2 diabetes and underwent years of dialysis, leading to severe nerve damage and kidney failure. The illness drained not only his health but also his finances, once estimated at around $5 million. Prolonged treatment forced him into a modest lifestyle in his final years. On February 7, 2018, Mickey Jones passed away from complications related to diabetes at the age of 76. He died surrounded by family: his wife Phyllis Jean Starr, 2 biological children, and 3 stepchildren. Anthony Michael Hall as Rusty Griswold. Anthony Michael Hall was born on April 14, 1968, and became a staple of 1980s teen comedies. When he was just 15 years old, he played Rusty Griswold, the wide-eyed, sincere son of the Griswold family, in the hit film National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983. Though a small role, it launched Hall into the spotlight as one of Hollywood's most promising young actors. Success came fast, too fast. After Vacation, Hall starred in teen classics like 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, and Weird Science. He became a face of the Brat Pack, a group of young stars who dominated the decade. But behind the fame, Hall's real life was full of turbulence. The pressure of early stardom led him into cycles of alcohol abuse and violent outbursts. He was once accused of assaulting a neighbor and was even jailed in 2016 for felony battery. His love life was rocky. Hall went through several short-lived relationships before finally marrying actress Lucia Oscarova in 2020 after over 30 years of navigating Hollywood alone. At one point, his career plummeted. Directors turned him away and major roles dried up. But Hall fought his way back through recovery and reinvented himself with roles in the Dead Zone TV series and standout appearances in The Dark Knight and Halloween Kills. Though no longer an A-lister, Hall steadily proved his staying power as a seasoned performer. As of 2025, at 57 years old, Hall continues to act, direct, and produce, often appearing in independent films. His net worth is estimated at $4 million, mostly from a long acting career and royalties from classic re-releases. Frank McRae as Grover. Frank McRae, born on March 18, 1941, in Memphis, Tennessee, was one of the most recognizable and distinctive character actors in American cinema from the 1970s through the early 2000s. When he played Grover, the deadpan but hilarious security guard in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, Frank was 42 years old, a prime age for someone who had already lived a full life before Hollywood. Long before movie sets and spotlights, McRae was making headlines on the football field. He played as a defensive lineman for the Chicago Bears during the 1967 NFL season. But after just 6 games, he made a surprising decision: to leave behind the brutal world of professional football and pursue what he described as his true passion, the performing arts. It was a bold and unconventional shift for a man known more for tackles than theater. McRae wasn't just chasing a dream, he was well prepared for it. He earned a double major in drama and history from Tennessee State University, an achievement few expected from someone who had once been defined by his physicality. But Frank had depth, intellectual curiosity, artistic ambition, and an undeniable talent for storytelling. On screen, he quickly carved out a niche for himself. Audiences came to love him in roles that combined grit with heart. Whether it was as a hardened criminal in Dillinger, 1973, a stern but inspiring teacher in Red Dawn, 1984, or Sharkey, the loyal CIA ally in the James Bond film License to Kill, 1989. But perhaps his most iconic recurring role was that of the over-the-top, perpetually yelling police captain, a trope he mastered so well that he later spoofed himself in Last Action Hero and Loaded Weapon 1 with pitch-perfect self-awareness. McRae also had a special comedic chemistry with the legendary John Candy. Their dynamic first lit up the screen in Steven Spielberg's 1941-1979, and again in National Lampoon's Vacation. One particular moment, Grover holding a shotgun while guarding the gates of Wally World, became an instant classic and is still remembered as one of the most laugh-out-loud scenes in 80s comedy. Yet behind the laughter and strength was a heart both figuratively and literally worn down. McRae suffered from chronic heart disease, partially due to his NFL years and the constant stress of the entertainment industry. After turning 60, his health declined sharply, forcing him to turn down many major roles. Once a sought-after supporting actor, he gradually shifted to small TV movies and Hallmark films, both to keep earning and to stay connected to acting. On April 29, 2021, Frank McRae died of a heart attack in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 80. At the time of his passing, his estimated net worth was around $4 million, mostly earned through over 3 decades of film and TV work, despite significant financial struggles in his final years. Christie Brinkley as Girl in the Ferrari. Christie Brinkley, born on February 2, 1954, became an unforgettable presence in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, when she appeared with flowing blonde hair, cruising in a bright red Ferrari, and distracting the entire Griswold family with her irresistible allure. She was 29 years old at the time, and with just a few minutes on screen, Christie transformed from supermodel to pop culture icon. But behind that seductive smile was a life far from smooth. Christie was once the darling of Sports Illustrated, gracing the cover 3 years in a row, a feat no one had accomplished before. But fame came with heartbreak. She endured 4 failed marriages, including her highly publicized union with singer Billy Joel, who famously wrote Uptown Girl for her. Yet behind the lyrics were stories of betrayal and the weight of fame. Their marriage fell apart in less than a decade. Christie also faced physical and emotional trauma. She underwent major surgery after a severe skiing accident, suffered years of lingering pain, and was suspected of experiencing depression after losing her beloved father. On top of that came a bitter legal battle with her 4th husband, Peter Cook, who was exposed for cheating with an underage girl. Christie had to face court in tears, humiliated and betrayed in front of the world. And yet, she stood strong. As of 2025, Christie Brinkley is 71 years old and still active in the beauty world, running a skincare brand and publishing lifestyle books. Though no longer at the peak of the modeling world, she still appears regularly on TV and remains a timeless icon in American entertainment. Her net worth is estimated at $100 million thanks to a long career, smart real estate investments, and business ventures. Dana Barron as Audrey Griswold. Dana Barron, born on April 22, 1966, was the teenage face that charmed audiences in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, portraying Audrey Griswold, the headstrong, witty, and spirited daughter of the Griswold family. When she was just 17 years old, Dana radiated potential and energy, promising a bright future ahead. Dana didn't just stumble into show business, she was born into it. Her mother was an actress, and her father, Robert Barron, was the founder of the Weist-Barron School of Television, one of the first acting schools in the country focused solely on preparing performers for on-camera roles. With that kind of upbringing, it's no surprise Dana took to the stage early. She began acting at the age of 10 and never looked back. Her breakout role opposite Tom Hanks in He Knows You're Alone introduced her to filmgoers, but she quickly expanded her repertoire. In 1989, she won a Daytime Emmy Award for her performance in No Means No, a powerful television film that showcased her dramatic abilities. Throughout the 1990s, Dana stayed active in Hollywood with roles in popular series like Beverly Hills, 90210, The Magnificent Seven, and a range of other made-for-TV movies and network dramas. But as the spotlight began to shift to younger stars and newer trends, Dana's presence in Hollywood gradually faded. By the early 2000s, offers became less frequent. She made an effort to reconnect with audiences in Christmas Vacation 2, 2003, reprising her role as Audrey, this time as the lead in a spin-off. Sadly, the film didn't find its audience, and Dana's attempt at a full-fledged comeback didn't go as planned. The once promising teen star now found herself navigating the harsh realities of a changing industry. As acting jobs dried up, so did the income. Like many actors who rise young and fade too soon, Dana faced financial strain. She quietly took work behind the scenes. Anything to stay close to the world she loved while still paying the bills. The glamour was gone, but her commitment to the craft remained. Her personal life brought its own challenges. Dana had a son with director Michael Vickerman, but the relationship eventually ended, leaving her to raise their child on her own. It was a turning point. Dana stepped away from the cameras, not because she lost her passion, but because motherhood became her top priority. She traded red carpets for stability, late-night shoots for bedtime stories, and public recognition for private peace. As of 2025, Dana Barron is 59 years old. She lives a quiet, mostly private life in California. Her estimated net worth is around $2 million, modest by Hollywood standards, but a reflection of a career that once glowed with promise and resilience. Though she rarely appears on screen these days, she continues to dedicate her time to family and charitable causes, often using her platform, however small it may seem now, to make a difference in the lives of others. James Keach as Motorcycle Cop. James Keach, born on December 7, 1947, was the younger brother of actor Stacy Keach and the stern-faced yet humorous cop in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, when he was 35 years old. Although he only played a brief role as the motorcycle officer, Keach left a strong impression with his tough guy demeanor, turning the Griswold family's trip into even more of a roller coaster. But behind the sharp eyes was a classically trained artist with degrees from Yale and Northwestern. A Shakespeare enthusiast before finding his place in Hollywood, Keach wasn't just an actor. He was a writer, director, and producer. He gained recognition for The Long Riders, 1980, in which he played Jesse James, and later produced the Oscar-nominated Walk the Line, about the life of Johnny Cash. His personal life was just as colorful as his filmography. Married 3 times, his most famous relationship was a 22-year marriage to Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman star Jane Seymour. They had twin boys, named after close friends Johnny Cash and Christopher Reeve. Despite deep affection, the marriage ended in 2013, with a formal divorce in 2015 following lengthy and sensitive asset disputes. The pressure of directing, especially on large projects like Walk the Line or his Glenn Campbell documentary, once forced him into a media hiatus. Still, he returned to form and even won a Grammy in 2021 for The Sound of My Voice, his documentary about Linda Ronstadt. As of 2025, James Keach is 78 years old with an estimated net worth of $10 million. Though no longer at the peak of his career, he remains a respected filmmaker and occasionally appears at music and film events, embodying a steadfast devotion to serious art and storytelling. The journey of the National Lampoon's Vacation cast is a testament to the glitz and heartbreak of Hollywood, a world where the spotlight often hides the most unexpected tragedies. Who do you think changed the most over time? Share your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe to uncover more untold movie stories.